Talk about a drop dead gorgeous car. Wow. Just wow. I also wanted to let those know that never made it to the end of one of these shows. There is a slow motion walk around without me talking that shows all of the lines and details like you've never saw them before. This is rolling art. But before getting into this one, I'm your host, Jay. Welcome to What Is Like, the automotive channel where we do deep dives on cars from yesteryear, history, specs, design. If you're into binging documentaries of your favorite car brands that are no longer in existence, you've hit the proverbial jackpot. I really try to post between 3 and 5 episodes a week, engine episodes, and company history sprinkled in. If any of that sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1940 Packard was Packard's 18th series. Packard went by series, not by years. Packard model lineup was broken down into junior series and senior series. The junior models were the 110 and 120. Senior models were the 160, aka Super 8, and at the top was the 180, aka Custom Super 8. Packard discontinued the 12 at the end of the 1939 model year. Packard offered the Super 8 from 1933 through 1951. Packard offered 9 built in-house bodies for 1940, which included but not limited to 2-passenger business coupe, club coupe, convertible coupe, club sedan, convertible sedan, 2 different styles of touring sedans, limo, 5 to 8 passenger sedan. 1940 was when Packard started to cheapen out in a lot of ways. Packard made some really interesting choices in the 30s, which are worth talking about. Packard wanted to make a more affordable option for more people to be able to access to wet their beak, so to speak, with prestige. Their first attempt came in 1932 with the Light 8, aka the shovel nose. And it's still decent, but it did not hit the price point in which Packard was hoping for. A few years later, 1935, the 120 would come out. It was cheaper. It still did not hit the price point in which Packard wanted, but it was a great contender for the medium price field. It's important to note that when Packard released the 120, it came with new technology that the senior cars didn't get, like hydraulic brakes and independent front suspension with coil springs. It wouldn't be until 1937 that the senior cars would get that, which is a super interesting choice, and it's open for debate. Why did Packard offer cutting-edge technology for the time, innovation on junior cars, but the senior cars would have to wait 2 years to get the same thing? Packard in 1940 took it a step further. All the cars looked the same. If you parked a 110, a 120, 160, and 180 all together from the front, it is really hard to tell the difference. The bodies are the same. There are some trim parts that are different. The louvers are different. The only major difference between all of the different models were the power plant, wheelbase, and interior materials. For instance, you had the 110 in the basement, which was powered by a 100 horsepower 6-cylinder. It rode a wheelbase of 122 inches. It was followed by the 120 8-cylinder car, but it rode a wheelbase of 127 inches. And this is where things get super interesting. When you get up to the senior series, the 160 is powered by one of Packard's best engines that they ever made, the 356 cubic inch displacement, making 160 horsepower, 9 main bearing engine, but it rides the same wheelbase as the 120, 127 inches in the wheelbase. Same thing for the 180, aka Custom Super 8. It is on the 127-inch wheelbase chassis as well, powered by the same 160 horsepower 356 that you can get in the 160 series. It's important to note, though, even though those cars do ride on the same wheelbase, the 160 and 180 could be had with a 138-inch wheelbase as well as a 148-inch wheelbase. That chassis was the professional chassis, for flower cars, limousines, hearses, ambulances, and 7-passenger sedans. 1940 did see a complete redesign, though, so let's compare. 1939 on top, 40 on the bottom, starting in the front. We're actually going to take this comparison a step further. We're going to compare the front ends from 1939 through 1942. So you can see the differences because each year has A lot more change happened between the years, each individual year from 1939 all the way up till the war, and it's just interesting to point out all of the different details. So we're going to start with the 39, and then we're going to work our way to the 42. 1939 is the last year for the big grille. It's also the only year where the grille bars are painted body color, then bright, painted body color, then bright. They alternate like that. 1939 is the only year for that, and it's only found on senior cars. So the Super 8 and the 12 are the only ones that you can get like this. Headlights are in buckets, which are painted body color, but it looks like it has a bright bezel at the end. There's also running lights on the fender, and the fenders are slightly creased going up towards that running light. Moving to the profile on the 40. The 40 has the same headlights in the buckets, but the bright bezel is gone. Instead, it's painted body color. The fenders look to be more creased, ever so slightly more creased going back towards the running light, which is also on the fender. But just take a gander at the grille situation. The grille, radiator shroud, whatever you want to call it, it's shrunk. It's narrower. Both of these between 39 and 40 are thermostatically controlled still, but it has a much narrower grille in the center, and it's flanked by two smaller grilles on the side. Moving to the 41, they go to a much bigger bumper profile design. Notice the headlights. They are no longer in headlight buckets. They are inside the fenders with bright trim bezel that goes around the headlight. The side grills grow. Also notice the side grills have painted, their body painted in between where it's bright. It's super cool. Very, very nice touch. The grille, to my knowledge, is still thermostatically controlled on the 41. Moving to the 42, headlights are still mounted into the fenders. It's got a single vertical radiator shroud. The ones that flanked on both sides are now gone, and it's replaced with a horizontal grille that goes the whole way in the front. Totally different bumpers as well. From the front, which one of these cars do you like the best? 39, 40, 41, or 42 in the comment section below. Let's talk specs. 211.7 inches long, 77.6 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 127 inches. It weighs 3,990 pounds. Price, $2,050, which would be equivalent to you spending $47,439.34 the year 2025. Total 1940 Packard production was 98,000 units, which broke down as followed. The 110 sold 62,300 units, 120, 28,138 units, 160, 5,662 units, and 180, 1,900 units. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer for this car, and it was the legendary 356 cubic inch displacement inline straight 8, 5.8 liters. It was good for 160 horsepower, around 3,200 RPM, estimated 250 pound-feet or 338 newton meters, around 1,500 RPM, with a bore of 3.5 inches and a stroke of 4 5/8 of an inch. Compression could either be two different things. It could be 6.45 as standard or 6.85 as high compression. 9 main bearings, aluminum pistons, hydraulic lifters. This car is backed to a 3-speed manual. Overdrive was optional. Let's talk styling on this car, starting with the bumpers. Just look at all of the detail in that bumper design. Then you have the Packard Hex logo with bumperettes. Look at how the bumperette protrudes up, and then it's connected with these two bars that ride in the front, the overrider bars. This one's got accessory lights and or fog lights right there, and they are connected to the bumper right here. Look at how these fenders crease, and they go up towards the running light. This is milk glass too, by the way. I love how this has this center line here, and it mimics the bigger torpedo light here. Notice the bezels are painted body color with this little tiny bright trim piece that goes around the headlight. This is beautiful bright bead that goes towards the headlight bucket. Take a gander at these side vents. Look at all of the detail work in the bars. All bright. Then it's got this other smaller thermostatically controlled grille in the center. This one does not have an apron in the front, so you can see all of this negative space. I love all of the cascading going on with this hood profile going up towards the mascot. Notice the mascot sits on a pedestal. It's got bright trim going back towards the split windshield with windshield wipers that come together that are up on little pedestals. This is the type of vehicle, the more you look, the more you will definitely see. This is one of my favorite angles on this car. You have the crease from the fender, and then you have the crease from the back of the headlight bucket to torpedo light. You have all of this texture effect going on with the louver situation. And then you have this piece here that protrudes it. It's just an awesome car to look at. It's also an awesome car to drive. All the detail in these pedestals. There is petite trim around the window, around the windshield. Center line is also trimmed out. This one's got the side mounts. Spare tires are inside these cases. The side mirrors are mounted to the case itself. Notice the bead that runs the perimeter of the case. How this is all designed. All this beautiful beadwork down here on the running board. Gas filler cap is on the driver's side. So just take a look at this fender design. It's rolled behind there. I absolutely love this fender profile, how this crease comes off and then continues down and gets more pronounced right there. It almost looks like a Gordon Burrig line, almost the same sort of line that you would see on a Accord 810, 812. Take a gander at these brake lights. Look at all of the bright work around the lens and all of the texture inside the lens itself. All of this detail. The bumpers back here mimic the ones in the front. Also love the Packard luggage rack with all of this intricate detail. What I love about Packards, and I don't know how many people actually realize this, but when you open a door to a Packard, it tilts out. Look at the hinge at the top here versus the hinge at the bottom here. See how the door tilts out as you open it? It's really cool. This feels like a leather material. Armrest, door handle to get out, window crank for the window, and just look at how it's all framed out. It's pretty thick for reference. And this vent window just opens like this, and it's just push operated. There's no crank for the vent window. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, you have the high beam switch, clutch, brake, gas pedal, emergency brake here, which has a release button right here. You pull it up to the highest setting, pull this button, and that releases it. Just take a gander at this interior. Here is what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood looks like. On to the button switches and knobs. You got the coolant temperature, oil pressure, 120 mile per hour speedometer with odometer and trip odometer, gasoline gauge, amp meter, overdrive, heat for the blower. Notice it says slow, faster, off, defrost, fast, slow. You got your windshield wipers up here, ashtray. These are all your pre-select stations, and you could put what stations they are on little tiny tabs, and that's what they did. And you got your radio here in the center, what radio station it's on. Right here, these are the headlights, starter, cigar lighter, key, hand throttle, and this opens up the cowl vent. Best feature they don't put on cars anymore. The cowl vent. Up above you have sun visors. They look like this. There's also the latches for the convertible top mechanism. You got a latch there, latch in center, and a latch on the end. 3 latches. Oval rear view mirror in front. Another sun visor over there for the passenger. Here is what the rear door looks like. You got the door handle to get out, window crank for the big window. No armrest on the door panel itself. The window frame is all trimmed out. Very thick frame, just like the front. Just look at how much space there is. Also notice the lack of transmission tunnel. There really isn't one. It does have a footrest on the back here, as well as a robe rail to hang a heavy blanket on in the wintertime. This one also has a light in center. Here is what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a quick gander at the greenhouse, or the pillar to glass ratio in this car. This is what visibility looks like out the back from the back seat. While the convertible top is in use, there is space to put stuff back behind the rear seat. Let's talk about seat back profile. It is reclined. The seat does dip down in the back, and this bench is huge. But with all of that said, there are armrests. With all of that said, absolutely no issue whatsoever with knee space in this car. It's absolutely incredible. The seats are absolutely incredible. It's a very, very nice place to be. This car would be absolutely awesome car to tour in. There are coat hangers in the form of this convertible top. You can hang whatever you want off of it. Just don't forget when you go to put the convertible top down that it's hanging there. It's another latch for the convertible top mechanism. There is not any dome lights. It does have a real glass window in the back. There are ashtrays, which are on the armrests. I got to drive this car, and I want to talk about the driving experience. When people say that these cars are the most balanced cars from the day, I totally concur. I still can't get over how nice the shifter was, because we've all drove, I mean, if you've ever driven a 3 on a tree from like the 60s, they feel very clunky. They feel very, you have to wait for them to engage. There was none of that bullshit with this. Like, you put it into a gear that you wanted to put it into, and it just went. It was like butter. The clutch was so light. It almost felt like it was a hydraulic clutch. Almost. It almost felt like a hydraulic clutch, but it engaged right where you would want it to engage. And it was so smooth. There was no clunkiness. There was no hesitation. There was no nothing. It didn't give you any bad response back. Sometimes, like when you shift gears and stuff, you can feel every little thing. You couldn't feel that with this, but it was just so linear, so smooth. The brakes were another thing that I was really surprised with. They worked effortlessly, and they're just hydraulic brakes. They're not power assisted or anything. I was just really amazed at how well this car drove. The owner was telling me that it drives like a modern car, maybe a modern car from like the 80s, but he's definitely right. Everything has a nice feel to it. There's no power anything, no power brakes, no power steering, but it was just so easy to drive, especially when you got it moving. And another point I want to make, it turns really sharp. Not a lot of people talk about this, but cars from the 30s and the 40s, depending on what car it is, a lot of those cars don't turn sharp, but this does. This has great turning radius. What's it like to drive down the road? It is an awesome experience. Over the hood view, when you're behind the wheel of this car and you see that beautiful bird at the end of the hood, it's absolutely incredible. There's no other feeling in the world that I could really relate this to. You feel like $1 million when you drive this thing. On the positive side, it's an epic car to look at, drive, ride in, super comfortable seats with loads of space both in the front and the back, but there's way more space in the back. It's a four-door convertible, smooth performance from the 356, inline straight 8 with the 9-main bearing crankshaft. It is hailed as being one of Packard's best engines ever, rolling, functioning art. It is considered full classic by the Classic Car Club of America. For those that want to know more about the Classic Car Club of America, it is cars built from 1915, some sources say 1916 through 1948. They are all fine examples, not mass-produced cars, and historically significant, which this car ticks all of those boxes. Also want to add this, unless you're caravanning and you're in a big group of people, when you go to a location or a destination, I don't care where it is, Walmart, the country club or whatever, you can find this car easily because it doesn't look like anything else on the road today. Against it, it looks the same as lesser Packard models. A lot of Bakelite plastic used on the dash and as interior touches throughout the cabin. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 40s Luxury Car Edition. Which one of these would you rather have? 1940 Lincoln Zephyr or 1940 Packard Super 8 160 or 1940 Cadillac Series 62. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free. Pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1940 Chrysler Imperial or 1940 Packard 160 Super 8 or 1940 Buick Roadmaster. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to name that tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this one. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I read and answer all comments posted. I don't say that for self-worth. I just say that if you post a comment on here, I will definitely read it and get back to you. If you want to send me something more personable, maybe you have a car in your personal collection, maybe you're affiliated with a museum and you have some really cool cars out in the museum that you would like me to come and do, send me an email at what_its_like@yahoo.com. Thanks again for everything that you guys bring in the comment section. I love reading the stories. I love reading the comments, the stories, and what you guys traded for different vehicles back in the day. Thanks again for being so awesome and making this a fun-loving car community that I'm very much a part of. Until next time, toodaloo! Welcome to the after show. This after show is pretty long because this car is pretty awesome, and I took a lot of B-roll of it so you could see all of the lines and details for what they really are. All of the lines and details you cannot see from far away. Enjoy.